In this daily drop, I'm going to break down for you the lighting setup that I'm using here and some considerations when you're shooting in hotel rooms. So let's go. All right, here I am in Burbank, California, in a hotel I have stayed in too many times, the Marriott Burbank across from the airport. And I'm in a small two-room suite, and this is a pretty typical scenario when you have to shoot interviews. Fortunately or unfortunately, hotels are, available to us, readily available, and they are relatively cheap locations. Obviously, have insurance, pull a COI or certificate of insurance for the location, and make sure that that you're taking care of the space that you're shooting in and doing all of the things that you're supposed to do in production to be safe. But in this case scenario, what I wanted to do was show you how I'm using some of the equipment that I had kind of on an earlier episode this week where I was talking about what I was bringing. I am using a fair amount of that equipment. It wasn't tons of stuff, it seems like it, but for me it was a pretty small kit. And also some things that I think you should be considering when you are shooting interviews in general. So first and foremost is finding your frame, and there's not a lot of options inside of this room. I really want to shoot somewhere where I can get talent a little bit away from the wall. I want there to be some visual interest, and to me, going into this particular corner of the room seemed to make the most sense. And there are some issues. I am essentially blocking, as you can see here, the HVAC system where all of that all of that equipment is. And even above that, because I was originally thinking about doing this as a standing setup, there is another vent up there which you can see in frame. True to production in general, I'm of course deciding to shoot this with my morning voice right now, and the cleaning service happens to be right outside of the door. It is always the way with production, so hopefully you won't hear too much of that, but this is not an interview for a client. And I think besides finding your frame and making sure that it works, I set this office chair that was over at the desk down. I flipped out the screen. I kind of figured out the position. I like shooting into corners. There's a little bit of an issue here with this vertical element coming here, out of my head, but it's soft because I am, as I thought I would be, needing to lean upon that f1.4 on the 30mm lens that I brought. This is the Sigma 30. It's at a 1.4 right now. It's on the FX30, and I think one key piece of information that I want to give you is that before I did the actual lighting for talent, I exposed for the background. And the reason I did that is the lamp that's here to my right was actually right behind me on the different desk. I took the coffee table, moved it over there, and it is fully extended in the position it's in. But I wanted to see that lamp inside of the frame, and that was really important to me in terms of having that visual interest, but you have to expose for your background in that situation. So what I did is I exposed to the lamp so that it was at the level that I wanted to. It wasn't on a dimmer, so I had to kind of dial up and down, and I actually settled at a 200 ISO on the camera system, and then it was about then bringing my light level for talent up based on exposing for the background. So if there's one tip inside of this video, it's basically that. And then the rest is pretty straightforward. I took that 4x4 silk, the one-stop diffusion from Westcott, and I had to figure out a way to set up a neutral key source. So I took the Molus X100. It's on a little tripod to my right, fully extended. And I used a little reflector with the dome, which is, bouncing the light. And then I had to clip one side to the mirror. I really wanted to use the TV in this room because it would have been perfect to attach to that, but it's bolted down and in the wrong place. So clip to the mirror, and then I was fighting to figure out how I was going to clamp it on the other side so I could use the whole silk. And inside the closet was, of course, as there are in hotel rooms, the ironing board. So I propped that up and I clipped to the other side of that, bounced off of that with the dome. That becomes my key source. And I got lucky because of where this chair is. There happens to be the door to the bedroom to my left. That essentially becomes my fill in the space. Specular highlights off of a little lamp that I don't have any black gaffer's tape. I should have brought a little roll of 1 inch. So I took my Tenba, my RØDE Roller 18, and I just propped that up onto the desk, and that is blocking that specular highlight, and it's also solving another problem, which was the dome was reflecting in a picture over there in the sort of kitchen area, and that would have reflected back into my glasses. There's probably still a couple of reflections that are happening right now, but nothing too bad. And this is basically the setup. And of course, if I was on something like an 18 to 50, then I could have a wider shot. I would still have a problem. I can't show it to you here, but I showed it earlier in the video of that other vent. So we'd have to kind of work around that and maybe adjust a couple of things. But if I'm just fixed on a frame like I am right now, this is working for me in a small space like this. I'm not far from the background, but testament to Sony's AF system for me to be able to shoot in an f1.4 like this. That's what I got for you today, and there'll be more episodes next week. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.